Morning and welcome everyone. My name is Representative Samakab Hussein. I represent District 65A. Today, we will bring a further awareness to the tragedy disaster happening in Somalia. Since October 2023, over 2 million people in Somalia have been devastated by floods, with staggering 750,000 has been displaced and near hundreds has been killed. Homes, livelihoods, and infrastructure have been swamped away, leaving 1,000 people in desperate need food, shelter, and medical care. This crisis compounds the existing vulnerability of community already struggling with a prolonged drought, placing them at this crisis level of hunger. In this critical moment, humanitarian aid serves as a vital lifeline. I urge for immediate and unrestricted flow of humanitarian aid to reach those urgent needs. Lives are at stake, and every delay or restriction could have devastating consequences. As Minnesotans, we value the power of collective action and the importance of taking care of our neighborhood, and that sentiment should extend to our neighborhoods globally. We understand that many of my constituents has been reaching out and asking for this urgent matter. My thoughts and my prayers are with people back home in Somalia. Today, you will hear from my colleagues, global leaders, and imam to highlight the impact flooding is happening in our Somali community in Minnesota. Please allow me to welcome Abdulaziz Mohammed from Attorney General's office, Keith Allison.
Good morning. My name is Abdulaziz Mohammed, and I'm the Government Affairs and Public Policy Coordinator for the Minnesota Attorney General's office. Attorney General Keith Ellison is unable to join today's press conference as he's doing a community forum in Moorhead, Minnesota, but he wanted me to share this brief statement on his behalf. I have the deepest sympathy for the people of Somalia today, who are facing the tragic impacts of unprecedented flooding. I also know that the Somali people will recover from this crisis with their ever-present resilience, empathy, and care for each other. Of course, they won't have to do so alone. In solidarity with the global community, Minnesota stands firmly with the people of Somalia. We have a shared responsibility to help foster international cooperation towards providing immediate relief. And because so many Minnesotans have deep ties to Somalia, I hope we can keep our Minnesota Somali community in our thoughts as well. I'm ready to work alongside them and the rest of our state to help Somalia get through this, heal, and rebuild. Thank you. And with that, I would like to introduce the House Majority Leader, Jamie Long.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. I just first want to say on behalf of our many House colleagues who are here and the legislature and Senate colleagues as well, that we express our deepest sympathies to the people of Somalia and East Africa. I know this is also hitting Kenya and Tanzanians as well. Some events that happen overseas feel distant to us, but when events happen in East Africa, we know that that affects our immediate community. We have so many wonderful community members in our districts, in our neighborhoods, in our cities, that this is very personal to them, and that means it's personal to us, because when our neighbors are hurting, we are hurting too. And we're here together to try to do what we can to lift up this crisis, to get it more attention. We know that it is, I don't think, getting the level of attention it deserves in Minnesota. And so we want to make sure that folks are aware of these tragedies that are happening overseas and know how they can help. So one of the ways we can help is by supporting the efforts of our international agencies, and we are honored here to have with us from the UN CERF, Mohammed Abdirazak, and I will turn it over to Mr. Abdirazak now. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press. Today I'm joined by Majority Leader Long, as well as representatives of the House and Senate, and other officials and community leaders. This is to address the catastrophic flooding in Somalia, which demands our immediate and concerted attention. As a former Minister of Foreign Affairs, as a Somali-American, as a longtime advocate for Somalia's peace, stability, progress, and human development, and in my current role as a member of the United Nations Advisory Group for the Central Emergency Response Fund, my role as an advocate has never been stronger, but I'm a bit more alarmed by the current situation caused by these floodings. The recent heavy rains have wrought havoc across Somalia, affecting 2.4 million people. More than 1 million individuals have been displaced, and we mourn the loss of 110 people in 36 different districts. These numbers represent profound human tragedy involving families and communities whose lives have been upended. The looming threat of waterborne diseases further compounds the situation. Reports of suspected cholera cases in various regions heighten the risk of communities already facing limited access to health care. In the face of these challenges, the resilience and solidarity shown by the Somali people, including those here in Minnesota, local authorities, humanitarian partners who have assisted more than 820,000 affected individuals, are commendable. Their efforts in providing shelter, food, water, and medical supplies are crucial, yet there is still a significant gap in meeting these needs to those affected. The forecast suggests some respite with light rains and dry conditions in certain areas, but this does not lessen the urgency of the crisis. We face a stark reality. In 2023, the humanitarian response plan is critically underfunded, with only about 42% of the needed 2.6 billion received. This funding is vital for assisting 7.6 million people, of the most vulnerable people in Somalia. As representatives and leaders, we make an urgent plea to the global community, donor nations, and all parties involved to step up their support. The situation in Somalia demands not just immediate relief, but also long-term commitment to support recovery. In conclusion, our collective efforts are crucial in this critical moment. We pledge to work tirelessly with all partners to ensure adequate response and recovery measures. The Somali people need our unified support more than ever. Together we can make a significant difference in addressing this crisis and build a more resilient future for Somalia. Thank you very much.
Dr. Abdul. Imam Morsel.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Again, my name is Imam Muhammad Mursal, the Imam of Masjid Al-Ihsan, St. Paul, and also I'm the chairman of IANA, Islamic Association of North America. The flood that took place recently in Somalia is the worst in decades. The first-hand information that we're receiving from the local people, the number of people who died increasing rapidly day by day. And it is totally different whatever flood we had before, because the intensity and the damage that flood caused at this time. According to the United Nations and other, organizations, the situation is really devastating and getting bad. So we as an Ayana and Masajidis, all the mosques, we have formed, and as a community we formed a committee to fundraise and make sure that at least we can participate and take our shared responsibility of what have been done in Somalia. So again, I thank you for being here. Thank you for standing. I really thank our representatives and House majority, and especially Representative Samakag, who really took this initiative. Thank you so much, Representative Samakag. Now I would like to call Dr. Ikran Abdullah, DNP and FNP co-founder, CEO of a Global Health Alliance, Infectious of Healthcare Service.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I would like to thank Representative Hussein and his team and colleagues for putting this press conference together, and welcome our brother, former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Somalia, Abdulaziz, Mohammed. Also, as he mentioned and echoed, we are here to talk about the flood and how it has devastated our home country and our community, both locally and internationally. I'm Dr. Ikran Abdullah. I am one of the co-founder and CEO of Global Health Alliance, which is a nonprofit organization that is based here in Minnesota, does work both locally and international from the healthcare perspective. Global Health Alliance, it strives to improve healthcare disparities globally. The mission of GHA is to improve local healthcare among the Somali community here in Minnesota, and also healthcare infrastructure in Somalia, globally starting in Somalia. Early this year, we were fortunate enough and able to deliver brand new medical equipment to a local maternal hospital in Somalia, specifically Garowe. And we were able to deliver those equipments in terms of doing a lot of assessment with the hospital and what they need from healthcare infrastructure perspective. This year, or early next year, our plan included to take healthcare professions, my colleagues, to do a medical mission trip in Somalia where we can do hands-on training on how to use the upgraded and the state-of-the-art equipment that we've delivered, and also do a lot of training for healthcare providers as well. Unfortunately, due to the floods that have been affecting our country in that region side, we were planning on also doing a regional assessment for our next mission to see where and what areas that we can help. So that has been pushed back because of the floods and the safety of the area that we're not able to get in and out safely. So with that, hopefully we will be able to, with the aids that we are asking for our neighbors and donors in the United Nations to help us get through this devastation that's going on. Excuse me. So we're also hoping that from healthcare perspective, we know that the roads of the area, the regions that we're specifically talking about that have been affected by this flood, the roads, bridges, and infrastructure have been extensively damaged. While the vital facilities such as the hospitals and schools have been closed, no aid could reach to them, and no one can come out and can go in to aid those individuals who are stranded in those communities. Also, as some of my previous speakers have echoed, the risk of waterborne diseases such as the cholera has increased. Thousands of people have been cut off for markets and supplies. And they are also isolated, which we also know how that could be an adverse effect to the healthcare and mental health of our communities and our individuals. This is absolutely heartbreaking to hear and to see this is happening. the floods have reinforced the urgent need for sustainable solutions and better disaster preparedness. This is call for unrestricted humanitarian aid from our nations, the United Nations, and all the other donors that are able to help in the community themselves, which, starting with Global Health Alliance, is part of that community that is helping and aiding us in any way that we can. So we ask, again, for anyone and everyone to join and help get this devastation addressed and help the communities that are needed. Thank you so much. With that, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Abdurrashid Shira, and who is a disease specialist. Hopefully, he will touch base just a little bit about the effects of these floods and the diseases. Thank you.
Very good morning to all of you, the elected officials and our distinguished guests. And of course, flooding is absolutely a huge disaster. And immediately what comes to mind is the risk of infectious diseases. And for me, someone who's trained in that area, particularly in parasites, because when the flooding, when the water began to stagnate, it will increase the chance of the mosquito to breed. And when that happens, of course, the risk of malaria goes higher. So I think what we need is, as the minister mentioned, a collective effort towards the disaster, towards the disease that can come out as a result of the flooding, as well as the impact that it leaves the disaster. Our colleague mentioned that streets are now, impassable, bridges are broken. So for us to be able to address all the issues, the disaster, the disease, and the damage it caused, I think it needs collective effort. And I think that's when we definitely need to support any organization, including SERF, to be able to address and lead that effort. And if we do that, I'm sure there will be a chance that we can do better, and hopefully in the future, because we need to learn lessons so that we are ready if something similar, God forbid, happens in the future. So I think I will stop there. We need to do everything we can to address all the issues that we mentioned. So I will stop there, and I will welcome to the floor our Mayor, Jacob Fry. Welcome.
Assalamu-alaikum. Subah wanaksan. Magaiga wa Jacob Fry, Dolka Magalita, Minneapolis. My name is Jacob Fry. I'm the mayor of Minneapolis, and it's an honor to be here with doctors, with United Nations dignitaries, with our distinguished representatives. A big thank you, Mahat Senate, to my good friend Samakab, a representative who helped organize here. And with all of the other elected officials, we're talking about a crisis right now that is occurring in Somalia. Millions of people impacted, 750,000 or more displaced. Around 100 people have been tragically killed. This is a crisis that is indeed unprecedented, but the precedent in many cases starts here, because the climate crisis that we're experiencing is not new and it won't end. We need to be prepared for disaster relief. We need to acknowledge that emergencies won't end with this particular flood, but they will continue. And we also need to understand that the kind of damage that is caused by the flooding we're seeing in Somalia and East Africa isn't limited to the damage of the flood itself. As the doctor mentioned, people get both malaria and cholera, a number of other diseases that are more readily spread when you have this kind of water presence and when you have this kind of flooding. And so what are we to do? Well, first of all, we need to understand that this is not the last instance. Second of all, we need to step up with the kind of disaster relief that is necessary to deal with this sort of humanitarian crisis. And third, we all need to be pitching in. I am proud to be a mayor of the city that has the largest Somali community in the United States, one of the largest Somali communities in the world. And one thing that you know about Minneapolitans and that you know about our Somali community is that they step up to help their neighbors and their family members. That's what we need to be doing right now. That's what this press conference is about, and that's why this is so critically important for all of us to come together. We're joined by people that have the power to make a difference, but all of us have that kind of power if we work together. And that's what this is all about. Speaking of working together, we've got both city officials and state elected officials that are here with us today, and it's my honor to bring up Representative Maria Isa Perez Vega.
Buenos días, Representative Perez Vega. I feel like we're flashing back as someone who comes from the Puerto Rican community and 6 years ago has experienced a large humanitarian crisis in which we were calling for help. The first folks that I remember coming to help were our communities of Minnesotans. And we took a call of action to recognize that this is climate injustice and that this is critical. And as a member of our Children and Families Committee, I think about the children. I think about the impact that these climate injustices have on our children who carry the trauma of surviving when these issues happen. The initiatives that we're bringing forward today is saying that this is a collective procedure in making sure that we are bringing aid. When I say every little bit helps and every action, regardless if you're in the Twin Cities, in the metropolitan area or greater Minnesota, we have our East African community that make an impact everywhere here, but not just within Minnesota, but globally. This is about all of us coming together. This is about recognizing that we have efforts that we need to conduct and we need to do them productively. And we have the leadership here in Minnesota to showcase that are here right now and so many more. The impact on children, I want to highlight that. And the impact on how it matters because we are a home of refuge here in Minnesota. And there's another form of refuge outside of war, and it's called climate refuge. And I'm familiar with how this process has been working over the 6 years and how in-depth it is to me and my passion and how much so many of you alongside me from the United Nations as well, thank you for being here, have joined efforts. So this is a call of action to take action for one of our strongest and impactful communities here in this state. And I would love to see how we can form a leadership and have a domino effect on other states alongside in which our East African communities contribute to. This is a global awareness initiative, and we must help. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Senator.
Good morning, and thank you for letting me be part of this today. In addition to my role in the Senate, as some people know, I'm a meteorologist, and I'm so grateful to hear some of the people bring up the role of climate in this, because I think when we have tragedy, we must look to some of the root causes to make sure that we're not just putting a Band-Aid on it, but we're actually making sure tragedies like this are less likely to happen in the future. The warming our planet is experiencing can lead both to increased droughts with the hotter temperatures drying out vegetation, making it harder for rain to get to the ground, but then also conversely, when the moisture does come, hotter air holds more moisture, can lead to flooding. So these events, droughts and flooding that we would typically see every 100 years are now happening every 10 years or more, these really dramatic situations. To use Somalia as an example, we were actually just coming out of a 2-year historic drought, which already stretched resources thin, left many families with hunger and other stability problems, and now to have this flood on top of it just becomes even more devastating. And much like we see here in the United States, where it is communities of color and our low-income communities that are most disparately impacted by climate change, on a global scale, it is the same thing. Economically disadvantaged people pay the biggest price for climate change. Africa, for example, has contributed negligibly to changing the climate with only 2 or 3% of carbon global emissions, but one of the most vulnerable regions for climate change. So I'm very grateful that here in Minnesota, we are trying to be a good partner around the world. We passed a lot of initiatives this year, not only to protect our own air and water, but things like 100% carbon-free by 2040, which makes us a good global partner in trying to combat climate change. Because any life lost to climate change, which is what we're seeing here, is one too many. So again, my heart goes out to all the families impacted. Thank you so much for all of the partnership in addressing the many problems coming out of this dire situation. I now pass to Representative Hussein for questions.
Ready for questions?
Can you describe, are you talking to federal lawmakers about like federal US government aid? 'Cause I'm assuming there's not actually Minnesota state aid going. You're talking more about international efforts, federal aid, nonprofits, that sort of thing.
We're talking to international communities, not a state.
Right, no, but have you talked to like Congressman Omar, US Senators Amy Klobuchar, Tina
We
Smith
are
about?
in the dialogues and reaching out to our Congress in the state of Minnesota.
How many of you have heard from relatives back home, back in Somalia, about the situation?
We are hearing a lot from not only back home, but also community members and constituents has been emailing and calling for action and asking for community, international community to humanitarian aid for the people that are devastated in back in Somalia. People are frustrated, Minnesotan, and that's why they're calling us every day and asking for demanding action. And with that, the community has organized themselves and try to raise money, this for awareness, not only in Minnesota, but other states and nationally. So I do have Loyan, who is the chair of for putting this together for event that's coming up on the 15th of this month, and their goal is to raise $1 million throughout the community that is here, the business owners, doctors, individuals, and everybody is willing to donate to help back in Somalia. Ohio, I understand they organize it, and other states in Virginia and Europe also, the diaspora Somali community are organizing to not only wait for humanitarian, but they just want to pitch and start up for those individuals to heard about it. So within that, he can tell me a little bit more about it, the plan that they have. Dr. Loyan,
Thank you, sir.
who's the chair for
Thank you so much, Arlena. Sorry, Samakap, Representative Samakap, and all the other dignitaries here, senators, Somali leaders. I'm not going to repeat what you guys already heard. It's a crisis of biblical proportions. I personally have been impacted by my family. It's in southern region of Somalia, and that it's something I cannot even describe it. It's beyond what you would see in a horror movie. It's a floods of biblical proportions. That's what I call it. Not only do we have a million of people, over a million people, displaced, and currently nobody can account where they are, but the little infrastructure that they had has actually collapsed. It's not damaged, actually. It has collapsed. The town of Bardere, which is decent-sized city in southern region of Somalia, in Gedo, Jubaland, the bridge is gone. It's completely isolated from the rest of Somalia. And with that, with all the Somali community here, who have a lot of ties, we have taken the call to action, and that we've organized ourselves, the great Somali Minnesotans. We put together a fundraising this coming Friday afternoon. Our goal is to reach to $1 million. So I'm asking all the good Minnesotans outside of the Somalis to come and help us this coming Friday at the Ziwari Center. I will give you brochures of what the event is all about, and that we're going to help. And this effort that I've started here in Minnesota, actually I personally started it. It's now expanding it to other states, and with the leadership of the Somali Minnesotans, we expect to see good results, and that our representatives are heeding our calls, and the mayor and the majority leader here, and Minister Mohammed Abdirazak. Thank you for your leadership, and that hopefully we'll recover soon. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm saying afternoon. Good morning, everyone. My name is Horden Hassan. I represent District 62 in South Minneapolis, 62B in South Minneapolis. I just want to echo on what this conference is about. This conference is not about to ask for state aid, because we can't give state aid to a foreign country, and it's not for the feds to also step up. We want our federal partners to step up. This conference is to create awareness. and then B, for the good people in Minnesota to support their friends and colleagues and neighbors. This is human catastrophe that we're witnessing. This is one of the worst things that have happened to Somalia, and Somalia has been through a lot. So we're calling for all Minnesotans, all Good Samaritan Minnesotans, to come forward and support their neighbors, their friends, their colleagues, and step up, because this is a climate change catastrophe, and it is one of the reasons I'm gonna call the elephant in the room. One of the reasons why Somalia is facing this is because Somalia has been a dumping ground for the Western countries. Its government collapsed 30-something years ago, and they have never had the power to control their coastal seas. So this is what happens when a country doesn't have the power to stand up and be empowered to have climate control. So I'm calling everybody to take the responsibility, because what we're losing is human beings, innocent human beings who are caught up in the midst of circumstances that are beyond their control. So we want Minnesotans, all Minnesotans, to step up to support the Somali community, to aid their brothers and sisters, because we are all a global village. This is impacting today's Somalia. Tomorrow it's going to impact somewhere else. Thank you.
One more question, and
Are there one or two aid groups, nonprofit, humanitarian aid groups beyond the fundraiser this Friday that if somebody wanted to help, they may want to donate to? Like groups that are already doing good work, or maybe?
Yes, we do have organizations that we work that are on the ground in Somalia, but we have to use the nonprofit organization that is licensed here. Okay. So when we raise the funds, we use an organization called HARO, Horn of Africa Humanitarian Relief, okay. And that's how we're going to be channeling all the money that we'll be raising. So it's our responsibility to make sure that the funds are actually going to exactly where it's intended to go to. So if you guys can get the word out to our good Minnesotans, the press here today, for you guys to come join us on this Friday, we'll appreciate. Or anywhere you can donate through the GoFund, and we have another page up that is also will take it directly to the accounts of the HARO, in which you can directly donate to. Thank you.
thank you very much. And I want to thank for the community members and our colleagues for showing up for this support. Thank you for being here in the media.